Hello, everybody. Hope all of you guys are doing well and doing well. Just so you know, it's such a pleasure to have Xan Phillips on today. Thank you so much for saying yes for the interview. And yes, we did have a short bit of discussion on this, but I feel like it should be more of a conversation today, so we can go both ways, asking each other questions about different things. But let's try not to put each other on the spot, if you know what I mean.
I
And
do.
yeah. So let's get started with your introduction, and then we can kickstart this conversation.
That's very kind of you, Raheen. Thank you. Well, my name is Xan Phillips. There's a variety of professions I enjoy, but at the moment, my main aim is to help people solve the climate crisis. That's what I'm very strong about. So the skills I can bring to the table are creative thinking and creative strategy, communication, because I love radio. I'm a radio presenter. I also love writing, and I have a strong background in marketing. So I'm hoping that those areas can provide help for either individuals or businesses or governments to help solve this climate crisis, which I'm sure, as you're aware, is something that is urgently needed to be worked on.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like there's so many different professionals, like basically people from different professional backgrounds that right now that they're having realizations, and also are seeing through social media and through different, you know, platforms and, campaigns, that there is a huge problem with the climate today. I feel like are taking steps, and people are realizing that. So it's amazing to have somebody like you that is concerned about the climate. Now, let's get started somehow with your how you were growing up, how were your teenagers. So how were you like when you were like 14? That's my age right now. So I'm really curious about how was Xan back then?
How was Xan back then? He wasn't like you at all. He would have found this very difficult, actually. Xan back then was very quiet, maybe shy, didn't really talk to people, enjoyed cycling. He was a keen cyclist back then. And I know roughly round about that age, I had a thought that, why can't we just shut off the roads for a day and let cyclists cycle around? And looking back, I think back then you would have thought to yourself, that's impossible. How can a young person do something like that? How can they go to the local council and say, we want to do this, or have had this kind of fun? And that's what I see so different now. I mean, here you are interviewing all these people at your age and being able to do it from your home. You haven't had to go anywhere. It's amazing. And I think that if that 14-year-old Xan was here now, I don't know if I still would be shy, but I think with the tools that there are at the moment, I'd be having a lot more fun. Now, that doesn't mean I wasn't having fun, because cycling's fantastic. My brother's very close to my age, so we had each other, and overall it was great fun growing up in many respects. But right now, I still feel, strangely enough, I still feel young. There's still a lot of energy within me, and which is one thing I'm excited about, because you've got to keep that energy going. And it's amazing. I just for yourself, how many people you've interviewed is incredible. And to do this at that age, to meet so many people, learn so many interesting facts from people, is going to really help you in the future. So in some respects, I wish that 14-year-old had met so many people, because then he could have been able to ask a few questions, but also pick up a lot of advice.
Yeah, that's true. I do get a lot of feedback and advice, not only in terms of like how I talk and present myself, like, but also I have like a lot of people that I look up to, then they give me like advice for like personal life, and they know me so well. And I feel like I've been able to make like lifelong connections, people that I met off of Facebook that now I talk to every day and I work with, and I'm, I'm wanting to collaborate more and co-create with them for, again, positive impact. And I feel like, yes, a lot of people that I meet now, that are a little older in age, no offense. If you're probably older than 14, okay? So you're older than me. But if, the people in their teenagers were right now, they're here, I feel like they would have been able to make a lot more impact because of the tools that we have right now, the platforms. And I feel like people like you, Xan, and a lot of other people that just want to help the youth, they want to support it. And if they have platforms and if they have opportunities, they want to share it with the youth. And, are not just generalizing that they all just play video games, they don't care about what's going on. There are a lot of us, and all of us are different, and all of us are unique, and all of us are beautiful in all, different ways. Well, how was it that you really got started professionally?
Well, there's a couple of stories there, and my father was a journalist, and his father was a journalist. So there was a long, as you can imagine, it's in the family, and therefore that's something you grow up with. But I didn't necessarily want to be a journalist between when I got to about 16, 17, 18. And it's quite funny because when adults used to ask me, what do you want to do when you're older? I used to say, I'd like to be an architect. And that made them happy. And they stopped asking me questions. But it wasn't until I was on a course. I had a chance to do a photography course or a video course. And sadly, both of them were running at the same time. So I had to take a pick. And I took the video course. And it was when I was doing that, I suddenly thought, I quite like this. Because even though we were doing this little story down by the library, I was thinking to myself, basically copying all the TV shows that I'd watched. We could do a shot up there, we can do a shot here, that person can walk from here to there. And then I suddenly just sort of really got into it. And from that, I pestered my dad and said, Dad, do you know any opportunities? He was able to give me an internship somewhere. And from there, I began.
Xan, are you there? Yeah, I don't know what happened. It's like flipped out. So
It flipped out, didn't it? Maybe I was talking too much. But anyway, that was TV, and then TV at the same time the internet happened. And suddenly the internet came along, and this was like, wow, it was just amazing. I just couldn't resist it. So I left TV and got into the internet. And then in about 2000, I thought I'd like to go back to radio. Now, I did try radio. And earlier on, we're talking about Nervous Sam. And at about the age of 17, I went to my local community radio station and had a go. And I just couldn't do it. I was too nervous. Absolutely unbelievable nerves and shaking, and it was just uncontrollable. However, by the year 2000, I'd conquered those nerves. I was excited, and it was strange, but there was the University of Surrey radio station, 1350 AM GU2. And that was the first time I actually did a live broadcast. And what I mean by live broadcast is beforehand, it was hospital radio, and it just went through the walls, and patients used to listen to it on their headphones. But this was actually broadcasting through the air. And it meant that, okay, there probably weren't many people listening, maybe about 5 or something. But it meant that anyone with a radio could have tuned in just by flicking. And that was really exciting. really, really exciting for me. And because it meant that potentially you could be communicating with someone who didn't know who you were, but you were hopefully making that moment, that hour, that 2 hours more exciting than the previous radio show that they'd heard or something. So, and radio is really dangerous because you get addicted to it. And since then, I really, no matter what, can't stop doing radio.
I see. Well, I have a lot of friends in radio, and they say the same thing. Like once you get into it, you cannot get out of it because it's amazing. Well, actually, here in Pakistan, like right when my grandpa was young, there used to be radio plays. I actually once got a chance to prepare a radio play, but we weren't able to do it because of COVID. But I'm like, I'm probably the last generation to do it because, you know, radio here is really dying down because, well, right now you could just tune into any podcast you like. You don't need to have, you know, any FM radio or anything for that. But no, the first time I heard your voice, I'm like, he has got something to do with vocals because, you know, you need to have a certain control over your voice there. Um, and the way you were saying like 2000, that happened. I'm like, God, I was born in 2007. I feel like a baby. And that happens a lot of times. Um, and now that you see, how do you think radio is really going? Like, are you proud of what has become right now? Or do you think it's just like slightly transitioning into all-time podcasts? Or what are your thoughts?
Well, no, I'm going to make you feel, I don't know, young again. I was podcasting in 2003. I really got into it back then as well, and I thought it was fantastic. It was great. It really is something about it because it's that thing when you're doing, let's say you're at the sink and you're doing the washing up, and you listen to the radio and there's nothing on that you want. Podcasting allows you to listen to things that you want to listen to, and it is if you want to listen to your favorite football team's fans talking about it, or if you want to listen to something about the environment, or maybe even a podcast about podcasting, which I was listening to the other day, it's great. It's absolutely brilliant. But there's also something for radio, which is that you'll know that other people are listening at the same time. It's that live feeling. And that's when we get into humanity and whether or not we are connected beyond just who we are, you know, like this. Is there a connection that goes around bits that we can't see? And I sometimes feel that when there is a shared connection, it's like when everyone's watched the same football match, which is what it boils down to now. That's usually the live event or something horrible in the news, or a wedding. Let's say there's been a royal wedding or something big like that, and everyone's watched it at the same time. I think there's a certain feeling that people have the next day where it's a shared experience. Now, radio doesn't do that much more. I mean, because it is, as you say, everyone's doing, let's call it catch up. On TV, we catch up. On radio, we catch up via podcast, with audio rather. So the world is changing a bit, but I still think for in the future, if we are going to help people solve this environmental crisis, it is going to be through podcasts, but also radio shows, through education, through us all listening together. And TV through the air down an aerial and radio through the air down an aerial is the cheapest and best way to connect people together. However, for convenience, I can see podcasts and catch-up TV also being very, very useful in the future, just like YouTube at the moment. I mean, YouTube's awesome. You got a problem, you want to fix something, you just go to YouTube, you search, and some kind soul has already filmed it, you know, how to fix a washing machine or how to fix a door or to do a bit of woodwork or something. It's already there. It's absolutely amazing what we have at the moment. But I just love radio, though. That's my problem.
No, I truly get it. And well, right now, there's a lot of, you know, takes on modern podcasts and modern radio, and it just hit me right now. What's your take on Clubhouse? Please tell me you're on Clubhouse. You've got to be on there.
No, I don't have an iPhone. So
No, you can be
no.
on Clubhouse on Android as well now. It's
You
been a few
can
months.
you?
Oh my
Yes. Okay. Well,
God. I
no, I hadn't. No, I've seen people advertising it, and I was very excited when it came out, but because I'm on Android, therefore I just ignored it. So it's on. You say it is Android now.
Yes, it is. Well, the thing is, I had to wait a long time for this iPhone thing as well, because I'm like, I don't have an iPhone, neither do my mom and dad's or like a close friend. Um, and I was very sad. But when it came out, that was a time where a lot of people were on there, like famous people that were having conversation, because it was just growing. So you could actually be in a room or like, in a club right there with Elon Musk and be talking there. So that was amazing. But as you know, when it got more famous, then it came onto Android. I have it, and it's been a couple of months since it's been on there. But yeah, just so you know, it's an on Android. Get it, and let's have clubs together, and let's have more talking there, because you know what, one thing I love about it is, on whether you're on Zoom, StreamYard, anywhere you are, you gotta dress up, or at least you gotta change out of your pajamas. And okay, I get the whole idea of being presentable, but when you can just like lay down on your bed, even be making breakfast while you are talking to somebody or while you're listening to something, I feel like that's amazing.
Yes. Well, that's actually very close to radio. So this is like a
Yeah.
chat show, but a specific audience or a select audience, or even just a group of people. But do you see, okay, that Clubhouse is going to, I mean, what benefits does Clubhouse have for you as a listener?
I mean, for me, first of all, as a listener, I could tune into a lot of different things. I mean, I could listen about so many things, and I don't really have, first of all, it doesn't cost anything. I can, listen to anything I want. And I feel like there are a lot of podcasts you could get on YouTube and other platforms as well. I believe Spotify is also doing podcasts now. But the thing there is, you are not in the conversation. Here you are in the conversation. You can lifetime contribute to the conversation. And the people, let's say if and that's how most things work. It's like for 20 minutes, they have a guest on, or, a group of people are talking, and then they could just be like, so all of you guys that have tuned in today, why don't you guys also join the conversation? So for those people that you've been listening to very closely for, a certain amount of time, then you have the time to talk to them, really to have lifetime questions there. So I feel like that's really amazing, and that being in the conversation is missing on other platforms, and that's what really excites me about Clubhouse. And you can network from people around the world, even if I'm like passionate about different things. I could go on and talk to professionals about it. So I think that's my main cool thing about it. There's a couple of
Well,
things. So.
you're selling it to me. You really are, Raheen. The it's one thing is obviously time, and then also not wanting to sit there and speak to no one or have no one listening. So obviously it's going to take a certain amount of investigation to find out how to build an audience. But do you think it could be worth or useful? Is it for an educational tool, or do you think it's a solutions tool, or is it just one for jingling up ideas in people's heads?
Well, it depends on how you use it. And same goes for many big platforms right now. That goes for all social media platforms as well. It depends on how you use it. I have got friends that use it for educational purposes. They're going out, they're talking, they're interviewing people. And if you interview people about a certain topic, then the people that are trying to learn something, they could tune in and do that. Then maybe for the same interviewing or conversation could be used for jiggling up ideas in people's head, because I feel like effective speaking, that to public speaking, is just used to trigger certain ideas in the listener's head and then let it rest. Third is the solutions part, which I've seen, and I clearly believe in that. open dialogues are the way to find solutions to the biggest problems that we have right now, that be the climate crisis, or when we're talking about peace, or the love, care, and respect of children, or like, you have different topics in the world that are going around, different challenges and problems that we face as one. People that talk from different professional, racial, religious, national, and generational background could just tune in, share their perspective, have a healthy argument as well. And when you connect, you collaborate, you co-create that solution that is contributing towards just disappearing that problem, or toning it down a bit. So I feel like it's amazing how you could do all three, but depends on what your main approach is. And you can also do it all at once. So yeah, it just depends on how you use it, which can be a little dangerous at times, because I see people having the weirdest conversations.
Well, it's got to be well, not necessarily structured, because this conversation, although it has a flow, it's not structured.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's that side of it where you need a guest, an expert. See,
Yeah.
I love speaking to experts. Experts are the best, because you can ask them almost any question and they usually have a good answer. So if I was going to do Clubhouse, it'd be like sort of bringing experts in and having a chat with them and getting them to help us once again solve the climate crisis. I mean, that is the bit that I want. And one thing, I mean, because speaking to you're as you say, you're 14 at the moment. What do you see the future as far as the climate goes? Are you worried about it?
Well, yes, I'm worried about it. And the thing with me personally is that I am a person that looks like really long into the future. Like, I buy something that I find pretty. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna pass this down to my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. I do this a lot. Okay. I honestly worried, not only because of my generation, but also that I see my children and then their children. And well, again, like, a lot of grown-ups right now are saying we're just going to leave the world. Our job is to support the youth, make a better world for themselves. I don't think so is the only approach you could have to it. You can also actively take steps along with the youth and really not just support them, but also engage in the process. But I am worried, but I see a nice future, because I see so many campaigns, so many new initiatives, so many experts coming together, talking, so many new inventions. I mean, because I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I follow a lot of sustainability pages and new innovations, sort of pages on Instagram as well. So, I get to see like, oh, so this person did this, or this person did this. And you see some of them are old people, some of them are very young people, some of them are middle-aged people. So it's not just one race, one age, or one gender that's working towards it. It's all of us that's going together. But I feel like the more I see people collaborate and co-create is what makes me happy and what gives me hope for a better and brighter future ahead.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And I'm equally also using LinkedIn a lot more at the moment, and also noticing there's a lot more sensible conversations on there. I think there is, if you're looking for hope, then LinkedIn is a very good place to be, because a lot of people are very cautious about what they post, and they try and post something that is solid knowledge, as opposed to items that might have just been let's say they haven't put as much research into on other platforms. So no, I agree. LinkedIn is a very good place to be at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing I love about LinkedIn, because I came onto social media as a very young person. I started using my own Facebook. Well, again, I share all my sort of accounts with my dad, so he supervises every single thing, the single text that goes in or comes out, everything. But I see when you're trying to and I'm not trying to like discourage anybody that's using any of these platforms, like, you know, when you're trying to make impact through Instagram or Facebook, or even YouTube. A lot of times it's harder than LinkedIn, because there you have a generalized audience. You have a fair share of people that are just gonna focus on how you look, the fact that you're a girl or a woman, and weirdly enough would just ask you. I used to get like at least, you know, one person saying, will you marry me because you're the love of my life, you know, at least 3 times a week. And it's bizarre, you
Wow.
know. It's bizarre. It's like, what are they thinking? I'm a 12-year-old or I'm a 13-year-old. But on LinkedIn, because there is a professional audience, there's an audience of educated, skilled people that understand and that are over these things, that I'm talking to a woman and I am talking to a girl and are talking to a professional, or are talking to or a young explorer. They're the best audience to have. They're the best, you know, network to have. The people that you would want to learn from, that's the, you know, that's the main place to be, LinkedIn. I love other platforms as well, but I feel like it's more filtered and it's more to the point, rather than just like, you know, going through 100,000 people just to get to those, you know, that influential group of people that are making impacts and can help you and support you.
No, that's very true. That's very true indeed. So thumbs up for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But it's the question, I suppose the question I have for you at the moment is you're doing these interviews, and you've done a lot. I mean, you've probably done more than I have, and you know, I've been doing this for 20 years, so it's a very solid, impactful sort of soaking up of knowledge and information. So have you learned anything from this yet, or are you still in the early stages, so to speak?
Well, I started interviewing, I believe at the start of 2019 or 2020, no, 2019. And you know, it's amazing how talking to people has changed me in like all ways. Because when I started talking, I would write questions. I would go through their profile, I would write up questions, and I would do that. I did that for about my first 5, 6 interviews. And then I'm like, no, it's not going to work. Because when the person is saying something, there's another question in my head, but I plan these according to my time. So I'm like, no way I am doing this. I'm going to do on the spot interviews. That started. I started talking to experts, professionals, random people. I would even be like, somebody would write to me, hey, I want to be interviewed by you. I do nothing special at the moment. I'd be like, sure. And I'd find myself in the most, you know, sometimes weird, sometimes very interesting conversations. That be even about Netflix. That even be about what are we doing? What are we even doing with our lives? So it started in a very interesting way. And then I really got into a time where I was doing a lot of interviews. And I learned a lot from that. I learned scheduling, time, platform, a lot about technology. And how to carry myself, how to talk, what to talk about. Because when you're interviewing as a 12-year-old and then 13, 14, you're like basically early teenagers or tweenage, you would actually just want to start up a conversation about Suits. You would just want to start up a conversation about Lucifer or something, like anything, like a Netflix show or a movie or your favorite color or when's your birthday, anything about that. But then you realize what's important to talk about. You realize, and you know, again, I feel like because I was a stand-up comedian, making people laugh was my thing. So I feel like the more people would laugh, the more engaged they would be in a conversation. So I really was able to explore different things. I was able to experiment because at some point in time, I found myself doing like, I even once did like 8 to 9 interviews a day. And for that month, I feel like I did more than 50 interviews, way more than 50 interviews, because I was doing 3, 4 interviews like evening. I was doing at least 1 or 2 in the morning. So I was doing a lot of interviews. And then I understood it's not the amount, but it's about how meaningful that conversation is. So yeah, I was able to learn a lot, and people give me a lot of advice on different things. And sometimes I can act on it, and sometimes I can wait and then act on it. So
That's interesting. That really is interesting. And do you? I mean, there's some interviews I have, and there's just one nugget of information or a lot of information, but there's always, you sort of come away from them and you feel, well, I've learned a little bit extra there. That's helping me out in the future. That's something I can pass on to other people. So what, I mean, let's say you're looking at your 30-year-old self. How do you see, do you see that far ahead? I mean, you were talking about children and grandchildren just now, but you know, do you still see yourself interviewing and doing stand-up comedy by the age of 30? Because by then you'll be pretty well skilled.
Well, by the age of 30, if I imagine myself, first of all, I imagine myself making a lot of impact through a business. So I want to be a businesswoman, owning a sustainable business. That's my deal. So imagine myself in a power suit and all. That's teenage girl fantasies. But I do imagine myself interviewing people and having conversations with people around the world. But I feel more like a lot of people, you know, middle-aged women or women in general were really my first very interviewees, and was said yes to being interviewed. So I mean, when I imagine myself at 30, I imagine myself giving interviews or talking to people that are 12, 13, 14, that are young, that want to know something. And I have something to offer there. So a little bit of like, you know, the tables have turned moment for me. And I also see myself as helping other businesses transition. Now, what I want to do is to own a sustainable business, and also to help other businesses transition from a business to a sustainable and profitable business. That's what I want to do. I mean, at 14, people are a little weirded out by how specific I am of what I want to be, but I feel like it's a nice thing. What do you have to say?
Me, what do I have to say? Well, I'm thinking you should try and do it a bit earlier, and then by then I hope you're a very successful person doing that. I think within the next 5 years you've got to start doing that. We've all got to start doing that. I mean, one person cannot change the world. We've all got to learn how to work together. And my only worry, I think, is the direction we go, the ideas that we have. We've got to make sure they're the right ideas. We can't in 5 years suddenly realize we've been doing the wrong thing. And actually, that was a big mistake and we've ruined everything. I mean, for example, I talk, or rather, someone the other day was talking about planting billions of trees. And that's a really good idea, but you've got to make sure the trees are in the right place. It's the right tree for the right area. And some trees work really well in one place, but don't work very well in another place. So if you are going to plant 1 billion trees, make sure you speak to the right tree people, because they can help you out. And that's my only concern at the moment. We've got lots of people coming along with brand new ideas, and let's try this new. Well, maybe now's not the time for new ideas. Maybe now's the time for ideas that we know that work and that are definitely going to get us to the destination that we want to. Let's remind ourselves, what exactly is the destination? Because we're just saying reduce CO2, or, you know, is there a level we got to get to? Is there and then are we, when we get to that point, are we just going to start all the way back again and go and do the same things again? Or are we going to be living in a different kind of attitude and relationship with the planet? And that's where the education comes in. I mean, in the UK at the moment, we've got an amazing array of problems. It's incredible what we're going through at the moment. And they're all, it's classic capitalism, the Western world problems. And it was so interesting the other day because it looked like there wouldn't be enough turkeys on the table to save Christmas. Every Christmas, every family that eats meat will probably have a turkey on the table. And suddenly everyone's getting very concerned about saving Christmas. And this energy appears. They go, oh, we've got to save Christmas. We'll do everything we can to save Christmas. But where is that energy for the climate crisis? Why aren't people going, we've got to save the planet. We've got to save humanity. And they can think short term, Christmas, that's important because everyone's going to be upset. But they can't think 10 years time, planet is in a terrible space. Everyone's going to be upset. They can't think that is very frustrating at the moment. But we have to learn to work together. We have to get that feeling about saving Christmas has to be us all together feeling, yes, we've got to save the planet. And I don't know where that's going to come from. That's how can we change that quickly from a society that is very that is almost focused on the individual rather than the group. And I know it might be different in Pakistan, and I'm not saying everyone is like that, because there's so many groups of people out there working for each other, so many people who care. There's so many carers out there who are not paid. There's so many volunteers in all walks of life. There are so many volunteers, but that it just doesn't feel like we're doing that as a group, and that's my concern at the moment. I mean, is that the same in Pakistan?
I mean, right now we do have people that are working on the climate, but again, I feel like there is no use if there's like a person that's working somewhere, then a few people here, and then there's no use. But it is a lot of use. It's going to generate a lot of impact if all of these people from here and there would just come along and work together. And when you're talking about this short-term thing, okay, yes, I know for, like, again, we don't really celebrate here Christmas in Pakistan because it's not the main thing. But, I get it. If it was Eid or it was anything, it would just be like, yeah, it's coming. It's right around the corner. We got to save it. I get the energy. It's that sort of be like, okay, this is something that's short term. And this is just me saying it out loud. I feel like it's because a lot of people right now, that be even sometimes young people or middle-aged people or old-age people, they're like, the youth can do it. It's their world. We're done here. I know people here in Pakistan, after 30, 35, they're like, we're old people now. And we got nothing else to look forward in life. And I'm like, God, please. I just want to go on and tell these people. And my dad actually used to be one of those people, be like, oh my God, I'm done. I have done anything I had to be. I'm like, by you're 40. You are 40, you're a middle-aged man. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, but you are amazing. You have so many things to look forward in life. If nothing, let that be, a happy and beautiful world for my children, for my brother's children, like look forward to something. And now he's better, he's way better than he was before. But I feel like people need to realize that they're not just done after a certain age, and they can still look forward to things in the future. And well, while I'm talking about this, something just pops up into my mind, and I've been asking a lot of people this question. Not everybody is the same. And I hate the idea of generalizing. And I feel like that's how a lot of arguments and things start, because when you start generalizing, like people from a certain country or religion or professional background are all blah, 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 I feel like these ideas are passed on. These ideas are passed on to our children or our youth, or are like, so anybody that is from there has to be like that. They just have to be. A lot of people, when they meet me for the first time, like, oh my God, you're so good. I'm like, okay, it's a nice thing to say, but I'm a representation of a lot of things. I'm a Pakistani, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Punjabi, I'm a brown girl, so, like so many things, right? I feel like we generalize a lot. And because of that, I hear so many people nowadays saying, so all children nowadays are just playing video games, are wasting their time, are into bad company, and they don't care about what's going on in the world. You see young people right now. We've got children that are protesting. We have children that are starting campaigns, initiatives, businesses of their own. So we are nobody to just generalize on a small group of people like that. Well, it is a fairly big amount of people right now that are okay with the whole day video game sort of thing. Well, what have you got to say on this generalization? Do you think every young person is don't know, don't care?
Well, I mean, the older generation are probably going to. You're right; they're tired. I mean, it's. Obviously, I'm speaking from the United Kingdom perspective, and we're all under pressure. The pressure is or stress that we're experiencing through working through life, and I don't think we realize how much stress we're actually under, because it's just normal. And maybe hopefully in 20 years time, when we solve the climate crisis and everyone is going in a much more relaxed lifestyle, then they'll look back and go, that was enormous what we went through just then. But the elder generation are in a tricky situation because yes, they've got to help, and a lot of fingers are going to be pointing at the older generation because especially with the UK, in fact, we're the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. This pollution came from our actions. We started it. A lot of people are looking at China going, oh, China's polluting this and polluting that. Well, we've been doing that for 100 years. Thank you very much. We started this, and when we began it, no one here went, we really should do this in a sensible way. We just went, we've got oil, we've got coal, let's have fun. And I think the older generations are, yes, they're tired. They're looking at the youth and thinking, yes, you've got more energy and, more ideas and go for it. But at the same time, my generation and the generation above me, we've got to do something about this because we are responsible. We have lived a life that didn't really care about the planet. And we've got to do our bit to make it work. But at the same time, we all need tools. We need two tools, actually. In fact, one tool is to take the stress out of life so we find it easier to do it. Mm-hmm. And another tool is some way of knowing the right thing to do, the correct way of going about this, because we can't experiment. As I said before, if we start doing the wrong thing, then it's going to be a problem because it could be, it could be like walking 5 miles in the wrong direction. You've got to walk another 5 miles back before you can go 5 miles in the other direction, which is in fact 10 miles. So if those miles are years, we go 5 years doing one thing, we got to go 10, it's going to be 10 years, 15 years, you'll be 30. It'll be, 20, 36 or something like that. And if 2050 is the target, then we really will be cutting it fine. Hopefully 2030 is a much more achievable target. Yeah. But it's going to take a world effort, a massive world effort, everyone working together, or as many people as possible, because some people just won't be bothered. And we've got to accept that. And that's the thing. Accepting attitudes is another thing. That some people will not want to be involved. You've seen it with vaccinations at the moment. We've got Brexit at the moment, or you've seen it in America with people not accepting an election result. You've got to accept these people exist. You can't stop them. But at the same time, if they're allowed to accept that, so to speak, they've got to allow other people just to get on with it. It's a very difficult balancing at the moment. It really is. And it's becoming yes and no. I'm right, you're wrong. So hopefully conversations like this, the more they have it, and if you say on Clubhouse and other areas, people are having more conversations, everyone has been allowed to speak, at least get their thoughts and frustrations out, maybe that's going to help. But action
and
needs to be taken.
I know a lot of well, actually one of my friends, Kurt Kluger, along with another of my friends, Stanley Pokers, they're doing this after chat for Humanity Rising. So it's this very cool show that they do. And it goes out to 50,000 people around the world. But the after chat is the real deal. And I used to go there a lot, but it was a very late time for me, and I found myself up until 3 a.m. because I just couldn't get off my laptop and couldn't get out of the conversation because I was too in it. So but there we used to have conversations with people around the world that were doing different things for climate change. Some were from Pakistan, from India, from Bangladesh, from Greece, from like all around the world. Like you could, and different ages. Again, that there's me as a 13-year-old sitting with a person that is 7-year-old and also a person that's 45-year-old. We have a lot of different generations and religions, and all of them come together and talk about it. And there are people talking about it, and open dialogues. That's what I say a lot. Open dialogues. If it's not helping you, really even just take that frustration and stress out, or just like pour your heart out, it's at least going to help you connect with somebody, then collaborate and then co-create that. And I think it's better than doing the blame game that China is doing, that we did nothing. We did something. We did something. It's not just like somehow the whole world is affected. It's like we blame China, or we blame the UK, or we're just playing the blame game right now, which I feel is very unnecessary. It's just us acting like a bunch of 7-year-olds, which should not be the deal. So yeah, and I feel like involving the youth is very important. Not just be like, you guys have got to become experts and all. I feel like they're able to share a fresher perspective on many things. And I feel like when I got into startups and when I got into entrepreneurship, I feel like I was, everybody loved me at the incubation center. I was the life of the party. And I was able to think a lot of ideas and solutions to different problems, because I thought like a kid. I never thought, oh my God, how the hell am I going to find the money? Or how is that going to happen? Then how am I going to do this and that? I didn't even go into such details. I just be happy, jolly, don't think too much. Adults overthink. That's the problem. They're like, what if this doesn't work? And then that doesn't happen. We just do it. That's the thing.
Yeah, and earlier on you were talking about sharing, and I think you're absolutely right. I think no to the blame game, and yes to sharing ideas. And the idea that I've had repeatedly over the last I've heard, not had heard, but yes, sharing the world's resources has been the way forward. Is, I think, a very good one, and I think it makes, the more you think about it, the more logical it seems, is that the earth provides our resources. We take them for free, and then we suddenly own them, and we charge large amounts of money for them. Whereas really what we should be doing is saying, look, the earth's resources are ours. We've got to take, we've got to give back, and we've got to help everyone reach a really good standard of living that it involves good health, good food, good living accommodation, good education, and stress-free, so people can just live, love, and learn. And what more do you want? I mean, it's so strange that people want to be incredibly wealthy, and just to be incredibly wealthy means a lot of people have got to be incredibly poor. It's an imbalance, and that's what we're seeing at the moment, a massive imbalance. And if there are people out there who are sharing their knowledge, then that's really good. We've just got to find a way of funneling this energy and knowledge, but also bringing everyone along. And that's where I find the live TV and live radio is still valid. I mean, right at the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about podcasting, how fun and exciting it is, and it really is good as a lesson or a bit of information you can grab and listen to. But to bring people along, I still think of sort of live events or live information, everyone listening at the same time, and then joining the sort of human collective is possibly somehow going to be the answer. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
that does make sense to me. And while we were talking about, somebody incredibly wealthy, I feel like right now we have a lot of things going on, different cultures, and somehow there's this, thing of like, oh my God, billionaires, and we've got to be billionaires, and you see Bitcoin billionaires, you see cosmetic brand billionaires, and I feel like to a lot of things that are promoted to our youth right now, I mean, I'm a big fan of a lot of different things. Um, Sometimes they're just not right. We've got to think it through. What impact is what we're promoting right here is going to have on our children? What impact is this going to have on the generations to come? And I think of that a lot, because when you see, and when you see what's happening, all the celebrity gossip and how things are just going around, um, I sometimes think to myself, are these people that are sometimes spreading rumors or talking about, oh my God, Kali's a billionaire. Oh no, she is not. Oh yeah, she is. We're still back and forth of whether she is or not. Um, I feel like, do they not think that the children would rather know about something that's actually happening, to something that is actually going to make impact in their lives? Like, if our children know more about the climate change, that is just like reading it here in Pakistan, you just read it in a geography book, that's just like one chapter in class 7, and we're done with it. Nobody really bothers to do anything about it anymore. So I feel like if we have more awareness sessions, and if we're not just teaching textbooks from back in 2005 where ozone layer was the main problem, now we have way more problems than the ozone layer. They have piled up, right? So I feel like we
Yes.
need that sort of catch up. We don't need to keep up with the Kardashians, though I love that show. We need to keep up with the climate. I don't know, make a spin-off or something. And I feel like if anybody that's interested in making a spin-off like keeping up with the climate, I'm up for it, because I have a Netflix deal, so maybe we could actually turn it into something.
Yeah, keeping up with the climate or something, keeping up
Oh,
with
that
the environment. Yes. No, you're absolutely right. It's and that's a very interesting way of looking at it, because yes, we all have our shows and what have you that we enjoy, but at the same time, there has to be something that we grab, that grabs people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like going back to that Christmas, it's to say to my generation, the generation above, you got to save. It's not just about saving Christmas, it's about saving the Christmas for your children and your grandchildren. Just like you just said about the young people, it's to impress on them the need for the generations to continue in a happy place, because whether or not we can survive. I mean, someone said to me the other day, it was really interesting. They said, well, Dave, this happens to the planet all the time. There's always, it gets hot, it gets cold, there's ice ages and whatever. But the answer to that question is yes, it has happened before, but not with 7 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's what people are not realizing. This is there's too many people on the planet for us to go, oh, don't worry about it. Because if it gets hot or cold in one place, or too wet or too dry, those people move. It's natural. That's what humanity's always done. They've gone from Africa into Europe, but they've gone from Europe back into Africa, because or to Asia, because of the weather, the climate. And we can't have, if there was an ice age and suddenly the whole of the UK had to go into France or to Spain, it wouldn't work. It just won't work. So I think that's what people have got to realize. But it's such a long-term thing. It's too far away that people just go, well, I'm just worried about this Christmas. Thank you. Not Christmas in 30 years.
Yeah, that's exactly when you said that's first thing I'm like, because this time it's going to impact way more people because we have way more inhabitants on Earth. And okay, Earth goes through a different changes. Yeah, back then we would have had way more, easier solutions. But right now, I am 100% sure to those people that are huge families living in a small house and they got to get out of a place. Are the mansions going to be shared, or like what's going to happen there? Because again, you talk about sharing, right? And even let's say we do have a way out, like we can move, or let's say we all can move into the US or like the UK or something, like, right? We can, let's say we do, how are we all gonna fit there? Are people gonna share their mansions? No. Right? Are people gonna share their houses? I don't know. And that's the point. We're so unsure of so many different things. And one thing I've learned, I'm a very nice communicator. I mean, I pride myself over it by now. And I love talking to people. And when I get inspired by them and when they have something going on and I've got something similar, I would love to collaborate. I would love to merge. I would, that's the sort of opportunities I'd go after. And a while back, all I was doing is like I was hopping on to a collaboration meeting after another. Then I realized, shoot, I didn't just need to collaborate. I also got to work for it, huh? And then it's like I've got too much on my plate. Sometimes, rather than just getting new things, what you already have, you have to sometimes learn how to say it's enough. And be like, let's live with what we have right now. Let's sort of dive into that, explore that. Because if I'm already like, like 4 to 5 things, if I keep on adding more, there's going to be no use. I'm just going to have like a huge resume at the end. I'm just going to say, I'm too many things to just say it out loud. Right? Other than that, I could explore into a few things and just be like, okay, now let's see where to take it from there. And I honestly have realized that like some time ago, but I don't know when people of the world will realize it, because it's not that it's a bad thing. It's like new things coming. Okay, I get it. It's always the nice things, right? But when you realize, okay, so the things we already have, the things that we had our money and our resources and our capital going towards, it's going to be divided and divided and divided and divided. Well, furthermore, there's going to be too many ideas. And then there's going to be like, I don't know, like the pick game, like who is the investor going to pick to actually put into action? Right? So I feel like rather than that, we just need to learn how to say stop. We'll, keep the ideas coming, keep the mind working, but like maybe towards what we already have, before it's too late, and then we've got to do a whole pick the top 5. Money goes towards that. Let's not look forward to that, huh?
Yes, no, that's absolutely right. A tree only grows to a certain height. It can't keep on growing. If it does, it falls over. And I think it was interesting listening to you just there, and it was sort of sparking some ideas in me. And there's 2 sides. There's the physical side to us, and there's the mental side. The mental side can go on forever. You can learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. It's infinite knowledge can be consumed. But on the physical side, you have your needs, and once your needs are met, you don't necessarily need to go much further. It is nice to get more things, and some people say, well, I'd rather get more of this and this because that's what I'm really into. Or they might say, I might want this and this, but there's a certain level we all need to be at. And I think that's what we've got to learn in the West. we've got to say to ourselves, look, we've got to a really good level right now. Okay. In fact, it's probably too high because we're consuming too much of the world's resources. We just need to reduce in our consumption. And then we need to look to the rest of the world and bring everyone up to our level. Okay. So make that the challenge, not us getting bigger and bigger and better. Bring everyone up to a really good level. And then with everyone comfortable, takes away the stress, the pressure, lack of people wanting to leave their country, but only leave their country as tourists, not as migrants or oppressed people looking for safe havens. And with a sort of very warm and happy, comfortable world, then, okay, let's try and bring us all up together. But once again, I can't. It's a lovely fantasy. I think it can happen, but it feels like it's going to have a spark, some sort of that makes it work.
Yeah, I feel like I should connect you with a friend. His name is Kurt Kruger. He is amazing. I mean, I met him like I believe more than a year. Well, yeah, more than a year ago. And we're always in touch. We're always having conversation on different topics, and he has Peace Lab. So, now again, we talk about how are we going to achieve world peace, and we talk. Everybody has, their way with it. Everybody is doing different things. Now, I work with International Children's Month, where we believe the love, care, and respect of children right now is going to bring up world peace in the future, because these children are then going to grow up to be more responsible. And when you're loved, care, and respected, they would pay that forward. And then we'll have a happy, happy world. That's sort of like in a summarized way, what we believe. More organizations and more initiatives and more group of people have other ways, right? And that's exactly when we can talk it out. But at Peace Lab, founded by Kurt Kruger, all they do is to talk about peace. They talk about peace in relation of climate change. They talk about peace in relation to so many different things. They just talk about it. And then, it's just like finding that philosopher's stone. That's what Harry Potter reference. And it's just about finding that thing that just automatically just be like, kaboom, we found it. Right? That sort of thing. And it doesn't seem to be happening with the climate yet, because we're finding so many sapphires and rubies and emeralds that we can't really find our philosopher's stone. And even if we've already found it, there's too many, right? So things there, then we've also got to have all the people there applauding, be like, amazing, we're going to help and we're going to support, we're going to change ourselves for this philosopher's stone that we find. The same with peace. We need to find it. We need people to support. We need their willingness for action, and then we put it into action. And then our best bet is just to be like, so we're waiting. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I hope it's something fun, right? So we really need that.
We do. We do indeed. I've got I'll end on a recommendation as well. I'm going to recommend you to Nick Coates, and he's very much into the environment and trees, and has designed this fantastic wooden bicycle made directly from trees. And I think he would be a very interesting guest for you, because he's showing how you can work with nature to make something that is really high performance, but also very practical, and actually can bring employment to rural areas. So it's very much like a bamboo bike, but it's made in the UK using UK indigenous trees. So I think he would make a very interesting guest for you, because he would go into a lot of detail, and also give you a great education onto the strength and beauty of the tree, especially trees that are grown in Britain.
Yeah, it would be amazing. And actually, I love myself for that. But my first best friend was a tree. So we used to have a park near our house when I was a baby. So I used to go, like my mom and dad used to take me there every day. And there used to be this one tree. All of them look the same. Now that I probably ever go there, I haven't been there in like 9, 10 years. If I go there, I'd be like, I can't tell the difference. Back then, there was this one tree. I used to love it. I used to hug it. I used to go there after school. I used to talk to it. It knew all my secrets. It knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Back then, I don't know, it was an astronaut or something. So it is such a cool thing. And I actually have videos and pictures as well. It's me hugging the tree, just me hugging the tree. So I have always loved trees. I have got so many different types of trees in my house. So I think, yeah, we would really connect. Thank you so much, Zan, for being on. It was amazing having you on.
It's a pleasure.
And well, I feel like we really connected, and let's have more conversation, but like more and more focused topics from now that we know each other and how we both are working in our interests. Do stay back after I turn off the recording. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. It was if you guys have been an amazing audience, though this is a recorded interview. But please feel free to comment, to give me all feedback. I am Raheen Fatima on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. And I believe LinkedIn would be a nice place to reach out to, then, right?
Yes, perfect. Perfect. LinkedIn's the best place.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Please stay back, and would love to come up with more interesting conversations like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raheen.